Okay. Okay, it's 6:32, I think, something like that, 6:30. Regularly scheduled planning board meeting, town of South Thompson. We get the agenda. Which I'd like to welcome Val to the planning board. Thank you. Thank you. And is there any adjustments to the agenda? Is there any no public comment because nobody's here, unless there's somebody on Zoom that'd like to comment? Anything that's not on the agenda? Okay. Any adjustments to the agenda? Anybody like to change the rotation? We have to approve the minutes from September 19th and October 2nd. So I don't think you were at those meetings, but everyone else can vote on those. Is there any questions or amendments to those, or? Yes, Maura?
I used the wrong term. I put alternative and it should be alternate member for myself.
Okay.
So that verbiage should be corrected.
All right. Other than that, is there anything else we need to review? Okay, I'd like to get a motion to accept the minutes for September 19th and October 2nd.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes.
I can second the motion. All in favor? Herb, aye. Travis?
Can you hear me?
She can vote. Richard up there?
Yeah, can you see me?
Yes, I can see you. Good. Okay, there's no old business. I think we're taking care of. The new business, will start off with the Bryce and Gail Malloy. And I guess they're on Zoom. Can you hear us?
You're muted.
They did it, they're muted. I think, well, excuse me, I skipped some. We need to elect officers for next year. Sorry about that. Okay, we need to elect a chair, a vice chair, and a, here it comes. Go on, have a seat.
Sorry about that.
That's all right, you're fine. Just in time, just in the nick of time.
Just in the nick of time to be reelected again.
Oh, no.
So we need to nominate a chair for this next year. Anybody want to make any nominations?
You want one and no one replied.
I'm sorry. All right, I'll look at it.
Does anybody want to nominate a chair? Person,
You want a motion to nominate her chair?
Second.
give it a second. All in favor of that? Use your hands. There we go. Good. We need to elect a vice chair. Do we have any nominations for that?
I'll make a motion to elect Gabe as the vice chair.
I'd like to second that. And anybody else? Any other nominations? Okay. All in favor? 5, 4, 0 opposed. Okay, we've already approved the minute meeting. Sorry, Bryce and Gail Malloy. Can you hear us?
Yes,
Oh, very good. So, why don't you just give me a quick rundown of what you'd like to do over there at your house? This is,
Yes.
and this is a private pier, right? This is not, nothing for commercial.
this is a private pier. It's recreational is our intent. My sons and their family do a lot of kayaking, and it gives it, get it down from a 6-foot embankment that's currently there, that's eroding badly.
Right,
And also fishing. My son and I do a lot of striper fishing. So we're
very good. So I looked at your report, you want to do some shoreline stabilization, you want to put a 50-foot pier.
Yes.
I looked at you, have all your permits from, I guess they're from Dennis Brock. turn those in.
Yeah.
I looked through all those. You got your, fish and wildlife, you get all your, flood permits.
Yeah.
And anything lacking that is there any outstanding permits? Any discussion on this here?
I breezed through it earlier, and it looked like everything was there, Army Corps of Engineers, DEP permits.
The neighbors have been, notified, the butters, I see that was in there. So, I'll give Gabe a few minutes to check it out.
No, I think it's like, I'm looking at it.
Here's the Army Corps permit for that. As far as the shoreline stabilization, that's just handled through the, code officer. We're just approving the pier. Is there gonna be a float on the end of this pier? I think so.
Yeah.
Okay.
20 foot by 11 foot.
Right.
Yeah. Sit on the mud at low tide.
All right. Any further questions about that? Not from me, looks all in order. Can I get a motion to approve this pier?
Oh,
Can I get a second on it?
second.
Second from Val. Okay, any further discussion on this?
None.
Hearing none, call for a vote. Travis?
Yes.
Val?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Herb, yes.
Yeah.
And, good enough. And Richard? So, 5-4, 0 opposed. Okay, that one's good. I can do a letter for that if you'd like, to have on file.
Thank you, folks.
Yeah, good luck with your project.
Thank you.
You don't look too far from me. That's good. I know where I can go on and jump on a dock.
Maybe you can show me the good fishing spots.
I don't know. Yeah. Okay, Next.
Measuring decibels.
measuring decibels. And this is,
Does everyone have the emails that came from?
Yeah, I read that.
Okay.
I'd just like to say, this is an approved, if we're talking about
I
Travis.
think we're just talking about how to measure decibels.
Right, A or C.
Okay.
And I think, I guess I have a basic question about that, which is where, like, it makes sense that we should establish a standard. And it makes sense that we should establish a standard that it relates to, does the town own a decibel meter?
Yes,
That should be this device that, to me, that should be the relevant device, because you're in charge of enforcement.
I just need to know whether to put it on A or put it on C.
It shows both.
So
Yeah, I have both,
per the emails, it was contradictory, because
exactly,
MMA
yep,
advised A,
yep,
and then our attorney
Device.
advised C
Yeah.
for no apparent reason.
right, MMA had. lots
MMA
of reasons.
advised A because that's what's preferred.
And the other towns that I talked to, they used A because that's
The
what
one
the
that with the
state
emails. I
prefers.
just had,
Sure.
On one email, Dave?
yeah, you have it printed out.
OSHA, I'm just gonna jump in. OSHA uses A, and so my feeling is. I understand
That, I mean, that makes sense in the fact that MMA recommended A.
The state recommends it.
And I checked with, my son who's an engineer, safety, environment, chemical and processing at UL Underwriters Laboratory that do everything for everybody. And he said OSHA is the golden rule, and he told me that, A is the standard for anything when he was doing mills in Sacramento and California had higher standards than most. And so he gave a couple different things, but he also
I just didn't like
mentioned
that.
that you can put an app on your phone. So anybody can put an app on your phone and your Apple phone, and it's only off like one decimal, and it does, and you can, so anyone could be checking it, but I just give you, when he did the cicadas this summer in Chicago, it was 110 decibels for cicadas. And so, but he also told me that if someone, Travis, at your place is listening to over 110 decibels for 30 minutes, they're gonna have hearing loss. And that's per OSHA regs.
Yeah, we actually just had, I wish, this email came out last week, we just had MSHA trainer come through and go over everything and do all that here, no concerns with it. So.
I mean,
the only real difference between A and C is C is gonna give you a more consistent reading because it's starting at it's regulated at a higher caliber for baseline, for base BASS, not BASC. But you're still gonna get the same reading. One, A is probably gonna give you more of like this, C is gonna give you more like this. That's the real difference.
and I think,
My understanding with C is for entertainment and concerts and also explosions, because I went out and looked at it well. And A is what the human ear hears, and so that's why they use that standard.
yeah, and I think most of us agree that there are many reasons and many precedents for using A. And this email from Kristen that says C, it just says like, I believe.
Yes.
Exactly.
Well,
That means like she doesn't wanna bill us for 30 more minutes to Google it. And
Yeah,
to me, like, I feel like,
well, I think it may have been because Terry's description was she was getting higher levels at C than she was at A. So I think in a way, she was looking at covering the town's butt.
C is gonna give you if you look at this one chart, C is gonna give you a flat line, and A is gonna give you more of a frequency range. And C is gonna give you a more accurate reading on the base response. But the reality is they're both gonna hit the same peaks at the same time.
so I guess that's another question. But, do we need to, we have A mode or C mode. Do we need to have a definition that describes the technique? Are we taking a peak reading? Are we taking a 1 minute average? Are we taking like,
Well,
what is the,
what it is some things are like over an hour. It's, constant reads for an hour. So it's like, it's not just like a minute or something like that. Another thing that they have in here is the state, we as a town, we can have rules for quarries, but they cannot be more stringent than the state rules. So that's what the state actually runs this, the DEP, the sound and everything. So another thing that I found, and I was just trying to look for the number, this is the blasting limits here.
yeah,
So you can have up to 4 blasts in a day. As far as the other noise, I think the state, some towns have 75 in Maine, many. The state minimum, you can go higher for some reason, the reasons. It's other durations. I was trying to find it. I had it printed out, but I misplaced it in finally. But for certain, like 8 hours, it can be higher than, it can be up in the 80s, 90s. If it's even less time, if it's 2 or 3 hours, you can make more noise.
And to put it in perspective, our Terry is taking readings, my office manager is also taking readings, and cars driving by is louder. Like that makes the level spike, just a car driving.
That's
by.
why you have to do it over a long period of
Yeah,
time.
so
There's no
it's,
other.
When
It's
they
not-
allow for the other.
it's not a crazy amount of noise. It's,
Now, your business hours or business hours are normally we do 7 in the morning to, I think it was 5 in the
I
afternoon.
think,
It was 4 for some.
It was 6 to 6, wasn't it?
6 to 6, whatever it is. But the state uses daytime,
Yeah,
7 AM to 7 PM.
Yeah, the question was like 7 to
You can do that, but, and that, we're kind of in violation of that with our ordinance, because like Morris said, what's more of an entertainment thing for the 65, but for this, I believe it's 70. So it's a little bit stronger noise. I have it in here somewhere, I found the number.
Well,
But I think-
if you go with OSHA's limits, just to let you know, an 8-hour day is 90 decibels.
Right,
4-hour
I found
day,
some of that too.
4 hours,
I don't think-
95,
I don't think.
and 2 hours, 100.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Let me finish.
Yeah.
1 hour is 105, 30 minutes is 110, and that's where if it's at 110, you're going to have hearing loss. 15 minutes is 115, and those are the standards that OSHA has printed and
And the
advertised.
state, it's on the state paperwork here as well.
I think it's a little bit of a different question, so we're not talking about, well, obviously, we don't wanna damage people's ears.
Yeah, workplace safety is different than.
But we're talking
nuisance.
about nuisance, not safety in this case.
I think it should be both.
Well, it should
Because
be both,
it
but
is both
if the
because,
nuisance level restriction is much lower than the safety level, then we're covering.
I think the Garrett's emails were,
Right, I think for the community, we have to look at the noise level, and then for you, you would need to cover yourself to look at the safety level.
Yeah, that's all handled with
Yeah.
MSHA, like that's.
Yeah.
Far succeeds any town.
Yeah. So I guess the point is that, we're having this discussion, but what needs to happen somehow is that a clearer standard of measurement needs to be written into an ordinance or a set of bylaws
It can be
somewhere.
a policy by the planning board as well.
Mhm.
But I guess, can it, because we don't have jurisdiction over enforcement.
If we have a basic standard description, then that gives.
Yeah, we do, because once we, being the performance standard, once we put that in there, then anybody that does any kind of rock crushing or something would have
Yeah,
to stay
so we
with
would
the
say
frame.
6 X decibels at the property line measured this way,
Right.
as opposed to just saying X decibels at the property line.
What I'm getting at is we need to raise ours to 70 at a minimum for the industrial.
if you
Okay,
make your performance, suggestion, couldn't you submit that to a select board so that there is a policy made? So it's easier for Terry to execute?
I think there should be.
we can, but what we're saying is the state is telling us that we have to follow their guidelines. We can make up the rules for these type of operations in the town, but there's nothing that we can do that makes it more difficult. We can't make it more stringent. So right now, we are more stringent at 65, we should be at 70. For this industrial, and it's in the
So
paper.
that would definitely have to go, well,
Now it's just a state rule.
But do you have to amend his performance standards, because this says 65.
does the performance, I guess the other question is,
I think we were in error there.
where does it say, is 65 written in the land use ordinance anywhere?
No.
That's just on the,
This is something that the town has done for several years, that
I think the
65.
65 came from when they were doing the
gravel pit,
gravel pit,
the famous gravel pit.
yes.
But even at that, where the state now has 70.
You know
So
what-
I think that we should at least take a vote to amend that to 70 for gravel pits, rock crushing. And to, the other thing that we should do is, that's between the hours of 7 AM and 7 PM, same as the state.
I think the other thing that we should do is bring this up to the select board and request that the town of South Thomaston have a noise ordinance.
And that means that ordinance.
That would have to go
he
through
gets
the-
to write it, right?
The ordinance review.
Yeah, I mean, like,
Well, you can certainly do that. What I'm saying is, to resolve this tonight for Terry, I feel that we should go with the A mode on the meter. That's what the state uses, that's what it's sort of standards for the towns. And I think we need to raise our industrial noise level between 7 AM and 7 PM to 70 decibels.
can you just quickly tell us where you found that?
It's in this big book I got in front of me, but I'll get it.
It wasn't the original,
We were in error. because
I know, but
this is
wasn't
already
original
state law.
point of operation from seven to six?
7 to 4.
7 to
The
4.
regular operation is 6 to 6, and then
Okay.
crushing is 7 to 4.
Well, anyway, it's crushing from 74, you're 170 decibels by the state of Maine.
Okay.
And
So
that's
you
what
need
we-
to amend this so that,
That,
or I can't really enforce it without being
or
amended.
we can amend that too, but I mean, I think we just gotta amend the form too, I can do that at home, but, what I'd like to do is make a motion that we accept for the A level measurement, and also to comply with the state regulations, it's around 70 decibels is their lowest one. Some towns are doing 75 for this. This does not affect music or anything like that, and other entertainment. If this would just be for an industrial use, making noise.
Do we need to do,
I think,
any kind of study on what the state, what those towns are for the state? I mean, there's the.
They're higher. The ones that I found were higher. They were all 75.
I think,
And like Morris said, they get different limits for their, how many hours a day. So we're very low at 65. And we're actually out of compliance with the state.
I think before I would be willing to vote on that, I need to actually see the statute, I think.
Well,
Because here, and the reason why is that,
You haven't seconded the motion, so you really
Yeah, no.
can't have any discussion.
all right, well,
Well, I think we can break this into 2 parts.
sure.
First is we agree to A or C,
Mhm.
and then B, maybe we do a little more homework to look at the state statutes so we can.
well, let's find it. I'd rather find it tonight because
Okay.
I've seen it today and I was looking for it. Theirs is 70. And we can find it on the phone, Google it, I don't know, but this is kind of cut off. Pretty well. We're gonna have to go to it anyway. Windmills are 75.
But those should be lower.
They should be, but they're not. Commercial operations are 70, 30. I kind of already researched this.
No, I believe it.
Do this 75, I found that.
So this says.
standards for quarries, 490-Z.
490-Z, I have that.
That's DEP, right?
That's just state legislative,
State leg-
490-Z.
The actual numbers, they're kind of all over the place.
This is lasting noise limit.
Says noise levels may not exceed applicable noise limits and rules adopted by the board. I don't know what board they're talking about.
Because
The board they're talking about is the state board, I believe.
those,
I had the same question.
those performance standards are DEP, that's just an environmental.
Chart about blasting.
Yeah, the news.
Yeah, there's a chart for that.
Title 38,
Anyways.
Article-
Find it.
Environmental Protection Board, okay, so Maine Environmental Protection Board. That's the board they're talking about, Maine Board of Environmental Protection. They do not make this that easy, do they?
No, it's a little difficult to think. But I think for the industrial, the minimum is 70. I'm trying to find it.
Well, I found a chart that had that document, but that was not, it was actually not the right chart. Not that easy. This is not that easy to find. I guess I think we want to,
So I just found something, I'm trying to find it in the document, but it says Maine's industrial noise ordinance limits sound levels to 70 decibels.
70, that's it.
70 decibels during the day, 69. I'm trying to find the actual document. This is like an AI overview of it.
That's for industrial, like rock quarries. If
This
they're seeing
isn't-
that.
Industrial noise levels are typically regulated by the Maine Department of Environmental Protection with a standard of 75 decibels at the property line of an industrial facility at any time of the day, with stricter limits potentially applying to protection locations,
Right.
where nighttime noise levels may be capped at 45.
I think you found it, Travis.
Your insurance company probably would not be happy if you did it later.
Yeah. No, you can't. It has to be daytime. Has to be, it's like 7 AM to 7 PM or dawn to dusk. The blasting, well, you can see if people are out there for you.
but here it says the standard is based on, here, it doesn't actually say, this has to do with,
Is quarrying considered industrial?
Yes.
yeah, it is, in this town at least. We don't have we don't have a separate line item for it.
There's only certain areas in town that you can have this kind of, and that's one of them. There's some on 131 as well.
Well, if we make a decision to leave it at 70, as you just suggested, and we also say that it's at 70 pending further investigation, and come back to it, for simplicity purposes, go from 65 to 70 at this point.
For industrial, I would just go from 65 to 70. I think that's the number the state allows. You can't, we make some of that be, 65 would be stricter than the state allows.
I just found something that municipal ordinances are prohibited from enacting stricter standards.
Yes.
To those contained in this.
I have that right here.
That I think has to do with, that I found one of those too, but I thought that had to do specifically with highways and highway construction.
I think it's with, no, it does say
No,
quarries.
it's like at the end of all of this,
Yeah,
we're
it's here.
trying to find the,
Get it for you. I just saw it. I like that one. I don't know if it's- where are you? Here's the. This gives you, this is you looking at this. This one here, that tells us that we can make standards, which we do already in town, which areas we can have quarries. But if you look in there, like, you know, there's one paragraph line that it can't be restricted in the state.
Yeah, this is a different thing. This is main noise related statutes, policies.
That has to do with that, and it's what we're talking about tonight. Anyway, the minimum number is 70. So we can't be, for industrial, we can't be 65. Unless it's at night, you know. And this is the kind of, you know, we have that in our, we can amend that former standard, as well. I think we should for industrial, if it is. To be in compliance with the state of Maine.
The property,
And the quarries on the back.
and the rock crushing machine is where now?
Currently, it's a couple hundred feet from the road,
Yeah.
but it's not crushing any rock until it goes down, any more rock until it goes down to the quarry and the zoning in here. So this is kind of a real point, they get the 40 decibels.
Well, let's leave it at 70 and see what happens.
I think we have to move to 70.
Yeah, 70, and once you move it, we can go back and do another reading.
And if we have,
Because the further you're going into the property, the lower you go into the property, the less sound is gonna
well,
transfer.
for the amount, say if somebody does it 8 hours a day, they can go into
I mean, we have
80s or 90s.
exceeded,
I guess the fact that we haven't found completely suggests, is there like, I don't know. How much time we can afford to ask Kristen to spend on it, but we can just ask her if she can verify. that
I've seen it in here.
I think it's worth asking before we change it, and the reason that I'm saying this is because whether or not,
Well, if we're wrong, we can always change it back, but I think we need to settle on 70
well,
tonight.
whether, you know, whether or not the readings are correct, et cetera, we're in a situation where we're receiving noise complaints. Not from a while, you know, we're receiving noise complaints. And if the result of that complaint is that we raise the standard without concrete statutory
We have,
I'm in agreement there.
then I don't think, it's just not a great look. And I think that if we want
Well,
to, it might well end up being that we have to do that. But I think we should cross the Ts and dot the Is on it before we actually vote to raise the limit.
Agreed.
wait a second, I think we're in violation, is what I'm saying.
Well, no, I know, but I think we need to prove it.
Well,
before
we
vote.
will, like.
And I think, because I think, you know, if we're accepting a method, then, you know, the readings, maybe you're fine on 65.
Yeah.
Okay, but well, if that will at least give us a standard then for somebody to measure and check, and everybody's doing apples to apples. And then I think we need, it's good to raise the issue of whether we're in compliance with the state statute, and if it turns out that we aren't, we do need to change it.
But I think there's also, as Travis said, he's gonna be moving. So we continue to measure where we're at.
Yeah, so this is not,
We're gonna get a higher reading. And if
I
we
looked
move
at
it
this
further back
document,
and
but
lower,
it's the
the
budding
reading should go down.
Oh, yeah.
not the
Yeah.
actual use. And this suggests
70 at the butter line,
it's 70 if the abutting use is industrial.
which it is.
No,
No, it's all residential.
your abutting uses are all residential
Oh,
in the
right.
church. So that this is actually saying it should be 55. But that, I don't think that's a real chart. I think that's a recommended chart from whatever this organization noisefree.org is. Cause I just looked at that chart and I had the similar question,
Okay.
but I actually think that they just snuck that in there into that document as a recommendation. I think that's a noise
Noise
regulating.
related statute policies review is Maine, so.
I think that's, but I think
It has
that's
a
actually
law
like a
here.
noise reduction advocacy website.
Yeah.
I don't think we basically can make a decision until we get a good legal read on this.
I agree, and I think that's the right thing to check. Is to ask Kristen to tell us if our ordinance complies with state law regarding the regulation of noise. And if
This doesn't say anything about noise.
Well, or our policy. Current policy.
Well, there's gonna be a quality decision in the planning board.
And I think that the other thing that I would recommend is that the planning board send a letter to the select board requesting that some noise standards be added to the land use ordinance so that we are not vulnerable to accusations of arbitrariness and that you have something to point to in the case of violation that's written down in the ordinance and it's very clear.
Sure. My question tonight was A or C, so we've decided on A?
Well, let's make a motion.
And I move that what are we actually doing?
What,
Mode
load or A or load C for measurement?
I'll just repeat the first motion that never got a second, and you went off on a discussion and a tangent. But the first motion that Herb did was accept A-level measurement for decibels and comply with state level of 70, which is their lowest level. This is not for music, but only industrial noise. So that was the original motion, which sounds like you want to change it, so.
So do I move to amend that motion?
Well, it doesn't, you can start a new motion, it
Okay.
never got seconded.
I move to accept A mode as a standard of measurement for decibels at the property line when those decibels were specified by the planning board as part of the building standards.
Okay, which is 65.
Can I just interject? Can Travis vote, second this motion since it's dealing with his property?
It's not dealing with this property, this is a general motion.
Okay,
General motion.
but I'm just asking for, would it be seen as some?
To avoid complication, I will second it.
I'll turn
Just one.
Okay, so we're gonna hold
Smart.
more. So the motion is to go to the A mode for decimal measurement
At the property line.
at the property line at 65 for now.
The number of
He-
decibels is not specified.
He
in the
didn't
motion.
specify, he didn't
We
have
haven't
any of that.
specified that, it's A or C at this point.
Okay,
Yes,
let's
Gabe
do the A.
moved to accept A mode
All
as
right.
for the measurement for decibels at the property line.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Do we need any further discussion on this? Travis? In favor or opposed?
Yes.
Val?
Agreed, yes.
Yes.
Val? Richard?
Yep.
Thank you. All right. Looking at this a little bit more, I don't think it's something we need to have a meeting over.
Well, Abe mentioned that he would like Terry to go to, or a letter to come to the select board.
Okay,
Discussing this. Is that something you want to do? That's good.
somebody's gonna make a motion.
I move that the planning board recommend to the select board that the town of South Felton adopt a clear and universal noise standard and approved method of measurement to use in all cases.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Should we, well, my question is,
Further discussion now.
okay, is it all cases or is it all
You're right.
residential / industrial? Where do we want to draw the line on that?
I think,
You'd have to have one for industrial, you'd have to have one for, like, for the vet center or music or things like that.
I
So it'd be two levels.
I think that there should be a
Whatever they try to
standard
do.
written, but that might have different levels for different uses, if that is what the select board desires.
Okay.
But I think that it's just, it's a little thorny and it's a little messy to have.
We need definition is what we're saying.
Yeah, and
Yes.
clarity.
I'm opposed to that, but, I'll vote against this because I think it's gonna just get a lot of, muddy the waters in an area that we already have a 65 decibel limit now. We do have a standard that we use on all commercial operations. So that's my 2 cents.
Understood.
Okay. I think it's just more something that we don't need to churn up at this time. Travis, for or against?
Yes.
Yes.
And this is to further investigate?
Or
You send a letter to the select board.
Asking about establishing a townwide standard.
Yes, I agree.
I agree.
I do not agree. Oh, no,
I go no.
Richard goes no, so it's 3-4, 2 against. All right. Okay. Get on the agenda for next.
That's it.
Okay. We gotta establish a
Another meeting.
next meeting time. Well, the next one will be March the 20th, if we have any business to conduct. All right,
Do you want me to discuss
this,
with?
no.
Okay.
I think if we want it off our, out of our.
I don't, I think it's kind of a, see, what's gonna happen here is, you know, you're gonna have one for industrial, one for commercial, one for, they'll pick your part on it, you know
So
what I
to be
mean?
clear, my standard is 65A.
Hey, 65, hey,
Okay. For
okay,
now.
that's the policy you're planning for,
At the
property level.
Yep.
Okay,
That's correct.
With no cars.
the only thing that we're gonna have, if somebody has an issue with it, that they get complaints, then we would have to look into going to the state level.
decent spikes would be fine.
That's a little higher level for
Yes.
that type of operation.
Wind and.
That's why I really didn't want
Traffic, look at traffic.
Excessively louder than
I agree.
any readings.
Okay, there's no further. I guess to do tonight,
Adjourn.
you adjourn the meeting at 7:15.
Sounds good.
Okay,
Thank you.
very good.
Very good.
Thanks for everybody for coming.
I'll be.